Shanese, thank you so much for being here today. I am super excited to have you on. You're the first woman to ever be on the Willpower podcast, and I'm super excited about it because I think that you have a lot of knowledge and wisdom that I'd love to kind of learn, and hopefully, some of our listeners can get something great out of it as well.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be on here, and I hope we're able to provide some value.
Yeah. If you want to pull this up a little bit. Yep. There you go. So you are tell me your title at one guess. It's
Community Affairs Manager.
Okay.
So I handle everything from giving sponsorships to dealing with commercial customers that need assistance, and everything in between. I do a lot of government affairs work with the city and our city councilors. Yeah.
So how would you compare this job compared to like any other? Because I mean, I've seen your resume, and it's pretty lengthy in a good way. You've had a lot of hats, and that's kind of something that I want to talk about as far as like how you even landed up here. As far as like me doing a little bit of research and everything, but how do you compare this job compared to the others?
Sure. I think this one fits all my other jobs in a sense of like it all makes my other jobs make sense.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful for a variety of opportunities I've had and projects I've been able to work on, and people that have trusted me with their money and their ideas and visions to bring to reality. This one is a real combination of my construction background, having been an owner's rep and a project manager, understanding what the builders need, and at the end of the day, who we service as a utility provider. Mm-hmm. But then also I've had a variety of exposure and experience with nonprofits in Tulsa. And so understanding what they need for funding to further their mission and help the clients that they serve. So it's been a combination of all my past roles to finally have one role that makes sense.
That's awesome. And then was this the role that you told me that you felt that, or that your current direct report told you that he made this job for you? Was this the one, or was that the one before?
Yeah, so no, this one. So I had known my my manager for years. We had met on a project that I was working on, and it was like 5 years later, I was finishing up work for Mid-America Industrial Park, and I was looking for what's next. Am I going to stay as a consultant and do owner's rep work, or will I go back to corporate, or whatever I was looking for? And he posted on social media, keep those contacts, and said that he was looking for a community affairs manager in Tulsa. And so I reached out and said, hey, I don't know if my experience is really what you're looking for, but I'd love to have a virtual Zoom meeting. He's in Oklahoma City, and see if this would be a fit for you. And later he told me after I got the job that when he was writing the description that he had me in mind from all those years ago. So I think it really makes sense of how you treat people, even if the relationship is just brief, and whatever that may be. Treating people well really pays off at the end, and keeping in touch. I think that's something that through social media and stuff, we have such an amazing way to keep in touch. And there's a variety of negatives about social media as well, but you can use it for a very positive sense. And 5 years later, it paid off for
That's awesome.
a great job.
Yeah, I think that social media has its positives and its negatives, but I think that we're being forced to, in a way, to adapt to it no matter what.
Absolutely.
Right? I was reading this article in Forbes magazine that it says that 64% of Americans rather do business with somebody that has a personal brand and has a presence in social media. And the number one profession out there, do you know what that would be? Mm-mm. Doctors. People want their doctor to have a personal brand in order to feel that connection and that trust. So reading this article really assured me that the extra time that I'm taking and just different things that I'm doing right now for my business really assured me like, hey, I'm doing the right thing. And then, hearing that story from you of just like, if it wasn't for Instagram, it was Instagram that you said, you probably wouldn't be in the job that you are right now. So part of the how I got to know about you was I was going through, we had AJ Johnson, who was part of the 40 under 40 for 2021. And then I somehow landed in the 2022, which you were on that list. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And every single person had a video, and I watched probably about 10 or 12 videos. And then one of the things that I really, I could really see the passion of of you loving what you do through that video. And that kind of goes a little bit into different roles that you've had in previous companies that you worked for. I mean, here in Tulsa, you've been a huge piece of a lot of the, businesses and stores here. And that was one of the biggest things that really caught my eye. So tell me a little bit about that, and tell me, one of the things that you said, I just love seeing something on paper and then literally walking in and seeing into reality. So walk me a little bit through like something like that.
Sure. So my father was in construction growing up. So I grew up around blueprints, always being in the house. And, he was always looking at measurements and quantities and things like that. So I grew up around the construction industry. And I went and got my degree in strategic communications from Oklahoma State and went into oil and gas and had a couple roles there. And then I ended up getting into construction and managing new facilities opening. The first one being Kendra Scott over at Utica Square. And then I went on to join the team at 36 Degrees North as the second employee. And that was such an adventure. And we learned so much through that. And then went on to be a project manager for Mother Road Market. And then ended up getting into an architecture firm and then consulted for Mid-America Industrial Park. So I'm honored to have a small piece in all of those projects, and there was a lot of players involved that made it successful. So I just think that my skill set of organizing and following up on tasks and diligence of asking questions and finding out what you don't know and figuring things out really propelled me for a lot of other opportunities. So I was honored to be part of the 40 Under 40. It was an incredible experience, and we have people like AJ who is changing the landscape of our community. Yeah. And so it makes me so honored to be a part of it, but it also makes me realize like there's a lot of great people doing a lot of amazing things in our community. So I was honored to be acknowledged as that.
So am I allowed to ask which one of those three projects, because those are the projects that I feel that have the most significance to anything you've done in the past? Which one was your favorite? Am I allowed to ask that, or?
Sure. They all have their own favorite pieces. I think I look back at 36 Degrees North and the team that we first hired on, and it was an incredible vision that the board had, that our executive, Dustin Curzon, had, and we built a place for community and where everyone felt welcome, and I am just honored to be a part of that. And the folks that we first hired were still incredibly close friends today. I talked to Dustin last week, and our communications manager and I had a call the other day, and now she lives in Austin. So it was a really neat project to be a part of. The Mother Road Market was transformative for the restaurant landscape in Tulsa. It allowed a lot of new entrepreneurs, new restaurateurs being able to test out at a very affordable access point. And the team and I are still incredibly close, even though some of us have gone on to do different things. So that was a really incredible role to play in our community, because it's not just the market, but it really started revitalizing downtown. And there was plenty of other players before that had started doing the work, but that really, I think, thrusted it into another realm of development for that area. So that was really neat to be a part of. And then my time with Mid-America Industrial Park, they became a second family. I still see them very frequently.
That's the one you did with Kendra?
No, that was my last one with Mid-America Industrial Park, where I it was about $20 million in commercial construction I managed. And just the community, it's a small town, and so you really see the money being impacted in the community for the developments, getting to work with a lot of small business owners as those spaces got built out and then rented. And then Mid-America is just doing some incredible things with how they attract new business to our state.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, and for anybody that doesn't know what 36 Degrees North is, what's, I've been there before. I did Tulsa Leadership, that Hispanic version of it, or whatever you want to call it, and they took us there, give us like a whole tour. But how would you describe it to somebody that has no idea what it is? Sure.
36 Degrees North was Tulsa's first co-working space, and so it was a place that had affordable office space. You could have a desk, you could have an office, or you could just have a membership where you can come and go. You got conference room hours, so if you were a startup and wanted to have meetings but you didn't want to have it at a coffee shop, that you could bring your clientele there. They had a lot of great resources classes to allow entrepreneurs the skills needed. So for instance, if you are, are a website designer, well, there's still things like accounting and HR and things you still need to know and learn. And so they provided a lot of classes and services through Tulsa Tech. The chamber provided some resources. It was a big combination of a lot of different folks coming together. And so they still have that, and they've expanded now to have more of an incubator space, hosting more tech companies, trying to get that off the ground. So they're still doing incredible things.
Yeah, I think that that's a place where whenever you think of starting up a business or, going out and because I feel that a lot of people have that in their heart, that they want to, I want to get out of this 9 to 5. I want to do something bigger, but then, it's easy to come up with, just see the obstacles like, well, I'm going to have to get an office. I'm going to have to get computers. I'm going to have to do even as much as like getting Wi-Fi, accounting, all this stuff. And then in my opinion, which, this is my opinion, but I call those excuses, but they're very real. They're very real obstacles that people come across that could potentially stop them from doing that. So I think 36 Degrees North, it's really giving people that extra push of like, hey, if you're ready, this is a membership that you have to pay, and we'll help you out through the whole entire thing, right? So, but one of the things that we were having coffee a couple of weeks ago, and that we talked about that I found I think that you and I have in common was that you and I were very young in our professions compared to like the rest of the field, and then with you add on that you're also a female, and then so I'm just curious as far as like how did that play a role? How did that affect? How did that motivate you overall in your career so far to date?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think being young in the role, you have to learn where your space is to have the conversations needed to have. I think you have to go in and work incredibly hard. And when people see that, they'll give you more opportunities. So I always believe that you don't work for the job you have, you work for the job you want. And so absolutely do the job you have with exceptional quality, and then start looking in other areas that you can take on or assist with that may be outside your duties. And I think that really helped me in my career. I also have been surrounded by incredibly supportive people that saw the work I did and the value in it and the skill set I had. I think people can sell themselves short because being young.
Yeah.
And I think just to have the confidence of I have skills, but I also know that I don't know everything, and you have to be willing to learn and admit your mistakes. I've made plenty of them, and being able to move on for that. I think women in the workplace is an interesting question because I worked in construction for, give or take 6 years. And many a times I was the only female in the meeting and by far the youngest person in the meeting. And so especially when I started doing owner's rep work, when I would tell sometimes the people what the decision was, they questioned it. And I always laughed, and you have to take it with a grain of salt. They are coming in to do their job. And the comments don't always mean anything. And so you just keep showing up, keep having a smile on your face, laugh about it, because at the end of the day, I'm grateful to be sitting in that room.
Yeah.
I think I look back at my career up until 31, and I've had a lot of people believe in me and give me opportunities, and I just worked really hard to not let them down. And I think in return, they've respected me. And I look back at all the different jobs and projects I've worked on, and I have incredible friends from each and every project. And I'm so grateful to say that, because so many times you can get into a role that you're trying to prove yourself in, and you can burn some bridges and treat people unfairly or unkindly. And people remember that. People may not remember that you missed a deadline, or that you made a mistake and had to redo something, whether it's documentation or whatever, but people really remember how you make them feel. And I'm grateful to look back and say, I've got great friends from each and every project. Did we have ups and downs in those projects? Absolutely. But we all trusted each other. We relied on each other. And still to this day, I'll call people up. I mean, I have friends in engineering and architecture that I'll call up all the time about different random projects that I'm having a question on, whether it's my current business or maybe for a board I sit on. So I think that, I'm really grateful to say that I don't feel like I have to prove anything else anymore. You know, coming from a communications degree, the only female in an industry such as construction, I think for several years I felt like I really needed to prove myself. And because of the people surrounding me, I was able to finally realize I can do whatever I need to do because it's a team and you have great support.
Yeah, I think, you know, you talked about, you know, you've made a lot of mistakes, you've had a lot of failures, ups and downs. A lot of the times, I mean, anytime that I go through those mistakes or failures, I kind of get a little bit excited because it's without those, you need those in order to grow and in order to be successful. If you were up all the time, at the peaks all the time, you wouldn't be able to enjoy them as much if you didn't experience some of those downs and some of those valleys there. And then, you know, as you're telling me this, what I'm really hearing is that, and I think that I can relate to my story as well, is that you've really looked around and you've tried to, or you've utilized people to help you and tried to really, you know, be like, what can I learn from you? Like one of the things that I can think of, you know, when I started in the business, I was 23 years old. And I remember whenever this top 100 list came out for the top lenders in Tulsa. And the first time I saw that, I was like 3 months in the business and I was like 98. And I was like super excited, but then super mad at the same time. I was excited that I had made the list at such, you know, being new in the business. And then, but I was upset that I was just like, man, 98, like I barely made it, right? And one of the things that I remember doing was I looked at the top 10 and I called every single one of them. And I said, hey, my name is William. I'm new in the business. I would love to like take you out to coffee or lunch. And they're like, wait, you're a lender? And I'm like, yes. And then they were so confused because they're like, why do you want to take me out? But I just wanted to learn. And sometimes you have to take yourself out of even the environment that you're currently in order to be able to get more wisdom and get more knowledge and information in order to start implementing that to help you out. And you know, like you said, I love what you said. You said you don't work for your current job, you work for the job that you want. And I think that that's been just, you know, in my mind, you know, growing up since I was a kid, and I really, really respect that. So so another thing that you said was I feel like I don't have anything to prove anymore. So what motivates you?
To show up excellently every day. And excellence is a different definition every day. I mean, you have your ups and your downs and you're tired and you didn't get sleep. I mean, I have a 2-year-old. So there are definitely days my level of excellence is below what I would like. But show up, be good to people every single day, and don't take anything for granted. Work hard for the opportunities that you've been given. I think I've moved past the list. And I mean, I think 40 under 40 was such an honor. And I wanted it for so long. I remember, like you, being 22, moving to Tulsa, and you start seeing, you know, the Oklahoma Magazine, the Tulsa People magazines, and they have their list every year. And I remember thinking, I want to be on that list. And I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to be on that list because there's a lot of incredible people doing a lot of amazing things in Tulsa. And that was in Oklahoma, I think. So I think that, you know, you just show up every day. I think it's what people remember is how you make them feel. And if I show up every day and leave the person, our interaction, so today during this podcast, if I leave this and I can give you positive influence and I can give you encouragement and I can, you know, provide value, that's what I want to do. And if I do that every single day, I'll get to wherever I'm supposed to be going. But I'm a lot less focused on the destination anymore and more of the journey and how I'm showing up every day, because that's what we can control. Yeah.
Whenever I was in high school, I had this teacher that he used to say this all the time. So I heard this from whenever I was a sophomore until I was a senior. And then he made it a point to drive this whenever we graduated. And he said, you know, enjoy the journey. And he even actually gave us a book that was called, I believe, Enjoy the Journey. And you kind of hear this and, you know, you kind of go in one ear out the other. I didn't really realize that until a couple of years ago, whenever I have a goal in mind and I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get there. And then you realize that once you get there, you're like, now what?
That's right. There's always something next.
Now you have to go bigger and better. So then I look back and like this year, for example, I have a goal for the end of the year, but I'm literally taking in the entire year. I mean, it's already September of 2022 whenever it feels like we just started the year. So 8 months have passed by, and whether I hit that goal or not, which, hopefully I'm going to be in the good end of that deal, but how much of the journey have I enjoyed? Because once you're at the peak, it's like, you're cool. Like, I'm here. So what now? It's
like you hit the peak and you go down the next hill. It's like when, you're riding a bike or you're mountain climbing, or what, you're hitting the peak, and then you still have to come down.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be another mountain, and hopefully it's higher for you. I look back at my career and have reflected on this, but my time at 36, when we were building the co-working space, and we had, 2 interns, and it was Dustin and I and our communications manager, Lauren. And I look back on that, and I was so hungry to hustle, and I was so hungry to prove myself and do the next thing and find the next mountain to climb. I look back at that, and our community was so strong. Those people I named, we're still super close today. And I look back and I'm like, man, that was a year and a half of my life I wish I would have enjoyed more, because it was incredible. It was fun. We worked hard, but it was with great people. And I look back and I wish I would have enjoyed that more. So I think it's those reflections as you get older and you accomplish those goals and you get on the next list, or you find your next mountain, that you look back and you're like, man, I wish I would have enjoyed that. And now having a 2-year-old, it's how do I enjoy that every day? 'Cause she'll never be this age again.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that a couple of the quotes that come to mind that I really, really try to engrave in my head are that I still haven't met all the people that I'm going to love yet.
I love that.
Yeah. It's so that motivates me to be more open-minded on like, I mean, this connection that we just created out of nowhere. It's like literally like 2 months ago, I would have never known that I would know you. Right. And then there's going to be people like that in 2 weeks. There's going to be people like that in I have a mortgage conference that I'm going to be out for this week to go to. And then there's going to be a lot of people, new people that I'm going to meet. And then so I like to keep an open mind there. And then the other one was some people are in your life for a season, and some people are in your life for a reason. And then you think that, okay, well, this person's there for a season, and then this is the person that's really supposed to be, pretty much the main focus. But in reality is seasons are for a reason, right, as well. So it's like we're just going from summer to fall and then to winter, and it's like those have a purpose, even though you might not like it or you might like it. But every time that I look at people that I even have a feeling, even though I don't know, I'll say, hey, this person's probably going to be in my life for a couple months, a couple of years, whatever. I don't see this person be in my life forever. But it's like, what can I give to this person, or what can I learn from this person? And it's so you have to be alert. If not, it's all going to pass. And it's just, another thing that I think about all the time is how many times have you, like, what's your favorite movie?
Ooh.
Or just
it
any.
Sounds so funny. It's complicated. I'm a big,
is that a chick flick, Netflix?
Yeah, it is. I'm a big fan of Nancy Meyers, the director, and now her daughter Haley Myers is coming out doing some films. They're rom-coms, but they're incredible.
So it's complicated. How many times have you seen that movie?
Ooh, like well over 150.
Okay, so how many times have you watched that movie when you've already seen it, and then you're like, whoa, I don't remember this part, and then you saw it the second or third or fifth, and has that happened to you with that movie?
Oh, absolutely. You have things that you see different every time, because the perspective of your mind shifts every day. And so you learn something in a random place, and then you look at something differently. It could be the same piece of art that you love, and you'll notice something different because your head's in a different space.
So that's how I look at whenever I think of my life. It's like every single day is an episode of a movie that's going to be my life. But the only difference is that I can't ever go back and rewatch that. So I especially in the world we're living in today, where it's so easy to be distracted all the time. It's so easy to take things for granted. And so I like to think of those few things to try to be able to be more present. So one of the questions that I asked you is what motivates you? And the reason I asked that is because I feel like you've accomplished so much, especially at such a young age. And sometimes, people think, success is, once you arrive, you arrived, and that's it. And something I was thinking about the other day is you could make $30,000 a year or $3 million a year, and you could be stagnant. Absolutely. Right? So I always try to ask people, and I'm curious on like, what is that? And so in your case, you're like, I just want to be there for people. I just want to love people and see what I can give. Is there anything else that you kind of are kind of striving for? Like, I know that you've already done a lot, but I'm just curious.
That's a great question. For me personally, in my career, I look at it, and I've done a variety of different jobs, and I've loved each one differently for different aspects. And you can look at my long list of companies that I've worked for, and I've jumped around, but I also think that that really helped me determine what I like and don't like and what I'm good at and things like that. I'm at a place now in my career where I want to stay with One Gas for the foreseeable future. I can't imagine leaving it. I think once you find a culture that is so kind and supportive, that it's something that you want to be a part of. It's a bigger impact that you want to be a part of. And we see that from our top-down leadership. So for me, in my career, I want to grow to learn our business. I mean, One Gas owns Oklahoma Natural Gas. So we are constantly, in the field, servicing our customers. And I'm at a place now I want to grow there and understand our market shares, how we expand, how do we create a better business, always with service and safety surrounding that. So I think I've been at a different place. Like, it's always been, for me in the past, it's been the mile markers. So 40 under 40 or Leadership Tulsa. I'm now part of that, and getting to have those opportunities. And I'm so grateful for, and we'll continue to do those opportunities as they arise. But I think I'm less focused on that.
So there's not any like mile markers, like you call them, for that you can see right now?
No, I don't. I mean, I think that I believe what's supposed to happen in life will come. And so I think that as long as I keep working hard and showing up, something's going to pop up. And I think that sometimes part of our journey is we don't know what's ahead, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I think it's really easy for us to focus on, okay, well, this is my next mile marker, but why? Like, what's your why? Why is that your next mile marker? And not that that's wrong, but I think that I'm at a place now I don't want to just put something in as a mile marker that really doesn't mean anything. And so I feel like as long as I keep showing up, as long as I keep working to be, excellent and showing people that they matter, the next mile marker is going to pop up. And I just don't think we need to rush that. I think so many times it's like, what's your next accomplishment?
Yeah.
What's your next accomplishment? And I think that for me, it'll appear and something's going to happen. But I also don't want to put a placeholder out there that means nothing, that, it may change.
Yeah. So something that you said that really speaks a lot about your company, especially somebody like you that has had a lot of different experiences in your workplace. And you're saying, I think I found the right culture. Culture and environment, you can kind of, 2-1 in the same, as far as like, you have to have a good culture to have a good environment in order to be able to feel valued and be able to grow. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I was thinking about, I was at Costco the other day, and I don't know if you're a Costco or a Sam's person. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure, because, so if they have those, the vending machines that have water.
Okay.
And it costs 25 cents to get a quarter. It costs a quarter to be able to get a water bottle. And it's funny, I go out and I get like 4 or 6, 40 packs of water, and I'm just like, I'm thirsty. So I went and then grabbed, a quarter, and I looked at it and I said, isn't it crazy that this same water bottle at like Whole Foods or Walmart, it's like $1, $1.50. And then you put that water bottle in a restaurant, and it's going to be about $3 to $3.50, $4, and then you put it in a hotel. I was just in Texas a couple of weeks ago, and the hotel was had the water bottles, and it was $8 if you drank it. And then I'm sure that you can get even pricier whenever you go to the airport, because you're kind of trapped there. So what really made me think is this is the same exact water, the same exact bottle, but it just has different value depending on its environment. Mm-hmm. And the only difference that water bottle can't do that we can is it can't, the bottle at Costco, it can't get up and say, I'm going to go to a hotel, so my value goes up. Mm-hmm. We can do that. And I think that's powerful. And that's a great testimony that you say that, like, yeah, you've had great experiences with all the companies you've been with, but there's always room in order to be able to be like, how can I see my value here? Where else can I put myself where people are going to see that value as well too? But sometimes so many people do the opposite. They put themselves in environments where, you know, you could be a $5 bottle of water, but people are treating you like you're a 50-cent bottle in that bottle of water. And that just, you know, it's kind of sad. It's sad, honestly.
Yeah, I think that it shows, you know, one, what is that environment you're in value, and it really has to align with your values. And if it doesn't, then you're going to be mismatched in the market. And then I also think that you have to look. Sometimes I recently was having a conversation about a different role within the company, and they said, you know, are you interested? And I said, yes. I said, for me, I just want to provide the most value to the company, and I want to figure out roles that increase my value. And sometimes that means being uncomfortable or having to work longer or harder. I think it's also easy to get stagnant in roles that are comfortable or easy or fun, and that's great to have, and you need those seasons to master a skill and to provide confidence to yourself of I am capable to do these things. But I also think there's a lot of value in a large corporation. I learned this when I came out of college and was at Williams, is that sometimes you have to be in different roles that you don't really like to grow and figure out how you can add more value to the company you're at. So it's not always about roles that are like, oh, I want that role because it's fun and it's enjoyable, whatever those characteristics may be for you. But sometimes you have to take a stretch role. And I was a part of the professional development program at Williams. And so you had 3 years that you rotated through 3 different jobs each year. And the first one, they usually gave you a job that you really loved. It was fun and engaging, and it met your skill set, and it was all a match. And then the second year, once you got all comfortable, they would give you a stretch role. And so my stretch role was running a liquids pipeline from Kansas to Wyoming, or Wyoming to Kansas.
Sounds super exciting.
It was something, but I learned so much in that role. Of different skills I needed, more finance, more accounting, learning operations. That was a huge thing. And I look at that in my career, and I learned how not just to do what came natural and easy, but be in uncomfortable situations and learn from that. And also say, like, I know I don't know what I'm doing here. I know there's a lot for me to learn. How can I learn this? But I think if you constantly are looking for roles that make you feel competent and comfortable, that you're going to sell yourself short. Yeah. Because you're capable of a lot more.
And there you're going to pretty much bring your value down as well too. And I think that's you said something there that a lot of people need to hear. And whenever I have somebody like you that, you know, has had a lot of accomplishments and you enjoy what you do, you know, a lot of the times people, my friends, my family, they just, you know, I can see that sometimes people envy that they can tell that I love what I do. And
that's a blessing.
Yeah, it is a blessing, but a lot of the times people don't realize that you have to go through those seasons where you hate what you do, or you don't, not necessarily hate it, but you don't enjoy it.
It's a grind. Yeah. It's hard work.
Yeah, because so many people think, I mean, even like celebrities and, you know, professional athletes and stuff, people just see like the good. It's like the Instagram
reels and
highlights. It's just the highlight on there, but people are like, oh wait, you had to do that to do this? No thanks.
Yeah, waking up at 5. So I was pregnant and wanted to sit for my project management certification, because I knew after baby, like, you don't know your schedule and what life will bring. And so I spent, I don't know, 3 or 4 months when I was pregnant studying my tail off to pass my certification. And I'm so grateful to have it. It's a skill set that I needed to add to my tool set. It balances out my communication with some more hard skills. And I was getting up at 5 a.m. pregnant, studying for 2 hours, get ready for work, go to work, manage commercial construction projects all day, come home, do a little baby prep maybe, get a workout in, dinner, study. And I did that, you know. So there's seasons of time of like, no one knows that you got up at 5 and studied for days and days and days to then pass.
All they see is that your certification.
That's right.
That's all they see. Man, so one question I have for you is, you know, one of the things about myself is that I love putting myself like purposely like in just new, challenging, uncomfortable situations. Like, for example, like Saturday I did, one of my buddies sent out a group text and said, hey, I was supposed to do this Conquer the Gauntlet. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's like a 4.5 mile race that has like 30 obstacles, like random obstacles. And he texted on Thursday and said, hey, my buddy was supposed to do it with me. He can't because he hurt his back. Does anybody want to do it? And I just said, I'm down. I didn't even know what it was, but I was just like, this is something that I'm sure it's going to make me better. And so I went Saturday, did it. It was a lot different than I thought. Like there was a couple of obstacles that really, really took a lot of like mind and just willpower really to be able to get through it. And, but I was just like so thankful when I was like leaving because I was like, this made me better. And, I got asked to do a beauty pageant contest to be able to judge it. And when I got asked the first time, I was like, man, I really don't want to do this. And I remember I had a trip planned. So I was like, I can't do it. And they asked me again for a different one. And I went to do it. And I was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. But I said, I think that this is going to be good for me in the long run. Like so I'm constantly doing different things that I feel like this Saturday I'm doing a 106 mile bike race in Pryor. Awesome. And it's like, people are like, oh, I didn't know you biked. And I'm like, I didn't really either, but I just got a bike. And so what is it like, what are is there things that you do to be able to put yourself like that? Or like, is there something similar like that?
Sure. So I'm a big believer of if it scares you, you need to go figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that's like a skill set or, if you're, relationships or whatever, like if it scares you, there's a reason you have fear around it. And you got to figure that out because the fear is going to limit you. And so if you can go sit in your fear and uncomfortableness, you are, head and shoulders above the rest. Because what happens, I think, is you see people getting uncomfortable or in fear, and they move away from it. And there's a safety, like, I'm a big safety person. Yeah. It's our culture. Like, so I think safety is huge. But when it's more of like an emotional fear or uncomfortableness, I think you just have to like dive into it. And I've had people tell me, like, you are one that will always tackle the fear. Like, hard conversations, I'm on it. Difficult times, let me sit in it. And so for me, how I prepare and work through those times are a couple different ways. I believe a lot in physical exercise. And so yoga and running are my two. And those are my things. And to learn to sit and be still in yoga in uncomfortable poses, in times that you aren't as good as other people, it's time for you just to sit on your mat and be in your world. And there is not a day that I go to yoga that I leave and think, oh, that wasn't worth it. I shouldn't have gone. Like every time, even on those days, like the 5 a.m.s that you don't want to get up and you go do yoga first thing in the morning, it gets your mind prepared. And similarly, running for me is that way. And sometimes I run with headphones, sometimes I don't. And I don't track how far I run. So I have no idea. I just take off. Because for me, I run not just for my physical health. Yeah, that's nice. And there's cardio and you can get, exercise in a variety of ways. But for me, if I can run physically this distance and mentally push myself, I mean, it makes you a stronger person in everyday life. And so I'm a big believer of you've got to sit with your thoughts. You've got to figure out why you're thinking those thoughts. What are you telling yourself? Is it true or is it not? And then if it's not, how are you going to change those thoughts? And you have to do something different. You cannot do what you've been doing and expect different results. Yes. So I'm a big believer of you're going through tough times. I'm so sorry. Get out, move, sit in your uncomfortableness. And I love running because it's not just a physical release for me. It is a mental challenge because there are people that would give anything to run. To give anything to have another breath, to be able to do what we do every day. And so having that gratitude for our bodies and our minds being able to, but also in mental strength of when we are able to overcome things mentally, that I think is sometimes the biggest thing we can do in our lives. Because physical movement sometimes is easier. You can push yourself physically, but mentally, sometimes you're just so tired and so exhausted. And so there's a lot of things that go into that. But I think on my runs, when I'm like, oh, I'm so far from home and I've still got to go back, it's like, okay, girlfriend, how are you going to mentally get back? No headphones. It's just you and the pavement and God. Figure it out. Yeah. And I think having those times to do that.
I think the more that you beat your those doubtful thoughts,
Yes.
the better that you become. That's why I love I love cold tubs. I love sitting in the sauna. It's being uncomfortable, but I know it's doing something much better to my body. And also it's me beating my mind when it's saying like, all right, you got to get out right now, get out. No, like you have, you know, a few more minutes here. And yeah, like you said, so many people want to do the same thing over and over and expect different results. And I mean, that's the exact definition of insanity, really. And that sounds like such a, you know, big, just ugly word, but that's what a lot of people are doing, and it's crazy. So last question is, go ahead.
I just want to say, on the cold tubs, I did a plunge in the lake in Arkansas in February. And so we went over for a yoga retreat, and you get in the lake in February, and it snowed later that day. And I think being able to get in the lake and submerge yourself for 5-10 minutes was an incredible experience to say your mind can overcome so much.
And it's also kind of tricking your mind, really, because when you say that, the first thing that I think about is that sounds incredible. But if you ask 10 other people, they'd be like, that sounds awful
and insane.
Right? So that's kind of what I did. I mean, I told you about the marathon that I ran without any training on it.
Better you than me.
Hey, my mind, right? So my last question for you is, what is the best advice that you've ever received?
Work hard and treat people well.
Work hard and treat people well.
Every day.
And to follow up that is, a lot of people forget that hard work pays off.
Always. And it doesn't pay off immediately sometimes. And sometimes it takes a long time. Stick with it.
Yeah.
And surround yourself with people that see the value in that hard work. And that's friends, that's family, that's employers, that's a variety of people. But even in the hard times, I have an incredible group of friends that support me all the time on my grind. And so it's like when I'm, you know, beating my head against, you know, the wall with work or relationships or whatever, I've got friends that are like, you've got this, you're doing great. Like, you've got this, keep going. You've got this. And I think having people encourage you like that is what life's about.
Yeah.
We're all here on our journey, trying to better each other, better our people. Surround yourself with those people.
Yeah. And I feel like sometimes people forget that you are who you're surrounding yourself with, and you're as good as the people surrounding you, whatever value they're projecting, as far as like, you know, you got this, you know, because it's crazy. And it blows my mind as far as people that surround themselves with negative people and expect different results, and it just, you know. But there's
even your friends, like even the friends you're hanging out with on the weekend matter.
Exactly.
The friends that, you know, you're at church with matter. The colleagues you're hanging out with matter. Choose those people wisely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much again for coming out. I really, really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm hoping to, you know, get to know you a lot more, and I really, really appreciate you. Well, I'm honored to be on here, and thank you for this opportunity.